Greetings. Are you ready? Then please, step forward into this virtual adventure in order to begin.
Nuttzs is our legacy.
Nothing here is what it seems.
A lost paradise it be.
It's war, and it ain't gonna be pretty.
Nexus has a terrible secret.
Oh my.
Wildstar. Adventure is about to get an ass kicking.
There just ain't nothing better.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Wildstar, episode 13. I am Jazzy, joined here today by my co-hosts Nuttzs and Cabal. How we doing today, guys?
Doing great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Looking forward to this episode, as always. By the time we get back around to them, always pretty stoked up for them.
This is going to be our Gamescom 2014 edition. This entire episode is all about the news and reveals about Wildstar from Gamescom this year.
And just as a big heads up for people, I mean, massive warning, spoiler alert for this episode. So if you're looking for everything for the first time, I don't know if this is the episode for you.
Definitely. And then always, open mic, so stick around. So this year at Gamescom, Wildstar revealed a lot of information about upcoming content to the game. Now, just again as a warning, this is heavy spoiler content. We will be going into deep detail about upcoming content. There's not a whole lot of story reveal, but the content itself will be here. So, as we said in the intro...
You have been warned.
Exactly. And another thing to keep in mind with this content, this is a preview of content that will be coming eventually. This content is still in development and subject to change, so don't take any of this to heart as 100%. This is absolutely going to happen. It may have already changed by the time you guys are hearing this. So just take it all with a grain of salt and look forward to fun things.
Just enjoy.
So, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about fun stuff.
Absolutely.
Yay. All right. So Wildstar was set up at Gamescom this year, and they revealed footage for the Defile drop, which we talked about last time. Fantastic stuff that's coming.
And you've watched the video, yes? Very cool looking stuff.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
With what's coming and what I've read and what I've seen that we'll get into, I think I'm looking forward to this drop more than I have any other one.
I think so too. I mean, as we go through this, I'll probably end up saying this again, but I feel like with this drop, it feels like at the end of it, there should be like this black screen that goes out and it, says chapter 2, like you've ended, like you feel like you've ended chapter 1, like you've got a piece of chunk of a story and now you're going to move on to what's next. And I think it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I think this is all just the first chapter.
Yeah.
I feel like this is just a prologue.
It's all
Definitely.
I think the strain is just a prologue. To what we're
just
gonna find
getting
next.
warmed up.
Bigger baddies. Along with the Defile drop, they also did a preview for Shades Eve. A little more
I'm
details
excited
on
for
that.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I am.
You guys
not.
see any videos on that?
Oh, absolutely.
The lore seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was reading in on the lore, and
Halloween was always my favorite event for like WoW or whatever. So I'm pretty excited to see what these guys got.
I've never been a big holiday guy, but this one just looked really done well. I mean, I looked
Just
in
the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, they've got
champion
everything
for, like, atmosphere.
so decked out, and it's like you go to the lore pages and you read some of the lore, and they got little poems up on it or some kind of verse, an ancient Cassian verse about it, and just what they've put into it. I'm like, this is going to be a really cool event. I mean, I'm looking forward to that, but I'm sure as the time gets closer, we'll probably have a more extensive episode probably on it.
We'll definitely talk about that one.
Yeah.
And then the final thing that they revealed in there, we saw some footage of the Ultimate Proto Games level 50 dungeon. So going into a little bit of detail about the Defile drop itself, at the end of this last drop, the Strain drop, we defended the Tree of Hope. So because of that, which the Tree of Hope was the big zone event there, the first thing Drusera ever created, because we did defend that tree, Drusera opens up a new area for us. And this zone, don't remember the name of it. Do you guys remember the name of the actual zone?
Blighthaven.
Is it part of Blighthaven?
Yeah, it's just opened up.
Oh, it's like
basically
West
a barrier.
Blighthaven.
Yeah,
something like that.
Oh, you mean of the defile? It's
Grimvault, West Grimvault.
Yeah, it's
there
west.
We go.
No, it's not west because that's where the Phage Labs is. Right?
Maybe.
I think it's East Grimvault. I don't think there is an East yet.
East Grimvault sounds right. It's some part of Grimvault. They're making it bigger.
Because Blighthaven is north part of Grimvault, and then I think it must go to the right of Blighthaven.
As a matter of fact, I've already got a quest for the new zone that I can't get into yet.
They did drop a little breadcrumb quest at the end of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to run up over this wall for so long. I'm like, I'm going to get there. No.
Not today.
Finally, I went in and I read somewhere, and they're like, oh, yeah, hucka, hucka, hucka. This ain't supposed to be able to get in there. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. I'm like, really? How long did I waste just doing that?
Oh.
But
so the first area in that new zone is called the Sonic Plaza, and this is content that's meant for solo players. It will offer new quests, new challenges, new path missions, achievements, and new loot.
Yeah, but I believe it's also going to be an extension of the rep for Blighthaven that they got going on, so you can kind of progress further with getting your rep and everything like that. What I find funny with the whole defile thing is if you listen to that video at Gamescom, they were basically saying that the strain was let loose basically because we showed up.
Yep.
So by us showing up, we're the ones that screwed everything up. So it's like, by showing up, you created your own problem. And here we are now dealing with it. But thanks for showing up.
Pretty much. Yeah, this zone, this area is focused around an Elden Resonance Tower. And actually something that I found really cool is the factions, both of us, Exile and Dominion, were racing against each other to discover the secrets of the Exonite, which is that big yellow stone that you see everywhere, and it's the only thing that can contain the strain. So we're trying to unlock the secrets of that stone.
But they also make it seem like, and I know this has also happened in other areas of the game, the Dominion setup and the Exile setup are pretty close to each other. And I know this happens many other places, but for two different factions that supposedly really don't like each other so much and they're just going to blow each other off the face of the planet, they in a lot of places are located pretty closely to each other, and I find that kind of entertaining. It's like this tenuous little balance that they have.
Keep your enemies close.
Yeah, it's like, well, we'll agree to disagree on this, but we're going to do this. Yeah.
We both messed this up. Let's fix it.
Yeah, but the next area that you'll move into is going to be for 5-man groups. It's called the Black Focus, which is going to be your 5-man content, which you'll be able to move into after, you've gone through that initial Sonic Plaza zone.
This part looks very, very fun to me. This is a big part of why I'm excited about this. When you enter this area, Drusera will contact you as she has before and tell you that there is a scientist there who was once a great Elden scientist, and he's been corrupted by the strain, and he's working to help spread it. So the Black Focus, he found it, and he's using it to terraform the area around it to help spread the strain. The cool thing about it is they have it hooked up in a way that as you're questing, you're going to disable 4 different sections of the terraform. What's the little beams they have shooting up into the terraformer? And they have it paired as opposing elements in each little area. We kind of saw something like this in Blighthaven too, where there was a section where you would fight fire mobs and then water and whatever. But they have it, fire, water, earth, air, life, logic. Those are all paired together as opposing elements. So that's a really cool little thing that they're doing there. So once you disable all the terraformers in this area, you can go and confront the scientist who has been corrupted. And something that they had in the video that I thought was really cool is that there's actually a jump puzzle to get up to him. And as you jump up on the platforms, the platforms themselves are booby-trapped. So you have to avoid telegraphs while doing a jump puzzle to get up to this boss.
I don't know. I love these when they stick these jump puzzles in. I mean, yes. I don't know. I'll try to get up a stupid tree or do whatever. And if it's a jump quest, I get stuck on the thing. I'm like, ooh, all of a sudden everything stops. And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to get this, you know? And
it's like one of the best parts of being an explorer.
I know. It's like, there's so many other things I should be doing, but I'm going to figure this one out. Yes. I'm like, I'm going to play this stupid jump game.
And that's how I always was, like in every other MMO, you know, before the thing with paths came along in Wildstar. I used to just climb like everything. And every time I played an MMO, I just wanted to climb things. I saw a building. I'm like, yep, I'm going to find a way to get up there.
I'm going to climb it. Going up.
So Explorer was like a natural choice for me. But yeah, I'm the same. I love the jump puzzles, and I think it's interesting that they're kind of pushing elements of the game together like that. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I like that. And one of the neat things they're going to bring along with this is the boss fight. You know, is going to be a custom boss fight with different telegraphs and phases, and it's going to kind of emulate
something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, but it's going to kind of emulate the idea of different phases within dungeon bosses and stuff, how they have different phases of a fight and so forth. But it's definitely going to be something we haven't seen. It's custom content, which is going to be pretty cool.
Definitely. And then one really cool thing that stuck out to me about that boss fight in particular with the scientists is that how we talked about before, how they have the elements paired as opposing elements. Up on his platform, there's a bunch of orbs around the edges, and occasionally he'll run over to one of them and pick it up. And you won't be able to fight him until you go over to the opposing element and pick it up. So if he goes and gets water, you need fire. So,
which is going to be a neat thing. And I mean, in a public event, that may end up, it's a simple idea, but it could end up a little chaotic in the beginning if people aren't up to speed, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I just think it's interesting, though, again, that they're bringing some more, you know, elements out of dungeons like you were talking about and putting them out into the open world. So it makes for a little more dynamic kind of gameplay.
Well, it's that whole idea of introducing people to dungeon/raid content ideas, concept in maybe a safer environment, whereas people may come together that don't really do raiding or dungeons because maybe they're a little nervous about it. They may show up in these world events and just group up with a bunch of people, and they're bringing this content out to them so it's reachable, and now they'll see it and then they'll be like, oh, okay, so now maybe if they try it, they might not have such a bad experience because they're gonna be like, I've seen this before, I get it.
And then the best part about this entire thing, because everyone loves this, when you defeat him, you will actually get a housing trophy.
I'll take it.
Nice little item to display to show that you've defeated a big baddie.
I like trophies.
I love that. I wish they'd do that for raid bosses, too.
Yeah, they really should. You would think that they would.
At least the final boss or something, you know?
Yeah, for as hard as, you know, the rating is touted to be, and it's, you know, all this hardcore, that you would think that there would be some little perk, reward, trophy item to put out and display.
I think you get a title, but that's it right now.
See, but I'm not a big title guy. I would rather have something from my house, some kind of trophy that you put out. That I would do.
I mean, I'm all about those trophies because, like, I've gotten 3 or 4 of those bronze statues out of boomboxes. I have the one from the collector's edition, and then I have my coconut monkey from the PC Gamer voting thing, and I have a shelf in my house that just has my trophies on it. So I'm all about that trophy. I'll definitely be happy to get that. Also in that zone, they have another zone 20-man event, kind of like the Tree of Hope was. This is called the Siege of Lightspire. And what the Lightspire is, it's a big Exonite building that is containing the entity currently. And the Strain is trying to break him out, make him free so he can break more things. In this, factions, the Dominion and the Exile, will be competing to complete this event first. So you don't get to work together as you did on the Tree of Hope, which should be interesting. This event will have 5 different stages to it. The first part of it, you actually get to get in some spaceships and jets and stuff and drop bombs.
I like this. I think that's going to be great. It's just going to be a change. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be something different.
All right, so while you're doing this bombing run, you'll actually use the ships to drop bombs on eggs that the Strain is trying to hatch to bring, you know, more to their army. And the thing about this, so it's a 20-man event, so you actually have to coordinate with other people that are doing the event, or the eggs are going to regenerate. So you have to focus on kind of one spot at a time, or you're not going to get very far. So it's good that they're, you know, having everybody come together, make sure you're all working together. And then in the second part of this, you're going to do a large-scale holdout, which in the video, when they say large-scale, they mean large-scale. This was huge.
weren't they saying that there was the potential for up to 40 players?
Oh yeah.
In this event, I mean, to tackle it, you know, not saying that they need that many, but there was the potential to have that many people running around.
Yeah, the factions, like I said, factions would be competing to complete the event first. So you could potentially have, you know, 20 Dominion, 20 Exile, both competing to try and finish this event first, which is really cool. So the stage after the big holdouts, they have you destroying power sources in the area, which are these like giant strain hearts, which look disgusting and horrible. But they're what's powering the strain, so you have to stab him in the heart, basically.
Take him out, and then you'll also end up having to be fighting mini bosses, basically generals in the Strain's army, which is, you know, going to be another part of it. So that's going to be kind of cool. I don't know if we've actually anywhere in the game kind of squared off against the generals for the Strain army.
Not yet.
You know? So that's going to be neat, because that's more of that story progression that you're getting more toward the closing of a chapter, which is going to be neat.
Yeah, they're definitely upping the ante every time with these fights and the creatures we're fighting, so I can't wait to see what we have in store. The final stage in that event is the Dread Watcher, and this is a boss that is for 20 players.
Oh, yeah.
This boss looks disgusting if you look at the video.
Yeah, he had like eyeballs in his mouth and like in his arms, and he was like all just really weird looking with these funky teeth, and he's like,
He had like teeth on his arms and like arms on his arms.
Like, interesting.
It was disgusting. Ugh. But again, this is another customized boss fight with unique telegraphs and phasing.
And, you know, and then once you get him downed and defeated, Drusera's going to invite you into the Light Spire after that, the Light Spire building, and tell you about the secrets of why the Elden disappeared, who the entity is, and why the strain was created, and how everything is all connected, which is going to be really cool. And I get, you know, again, I guess that's why you feel like it has that conclusion of a chapter, because, you know, it's the first time you're getting a chunk of information to really say, gee, this is kind of what happened to the Elden, and, you know, these are what these major players are and who they are, and this is kind of what's going on.
I can tell you what happened, because Drusera's evil. So the secrets why the Elden disappeared is because she killed them. She's the entity, and she created the strain. Calling it now.
Kind of like, let's see, the, oh, God.
I don't trust her.
Who's the green and red guy? Oh, my Lord.
Green and red guy.
Does the adventures.
The caretaker?
Yeah, I'm so drawing a blank. I was like,
see, but at least he's honest about his bipolar and craziness, you know?
I know,
She tries to play all nice, and she's like, I'm super powerful, but I'm so nice. Yeah, whatever. I don't trust you. You're too nice.
Just going to snap my fingers and all will die.
Yeah. See, everything's connected to her. I'm telling you right now.
We shall see.
When this content comes out, by the way, they said that this content will be coming out in the next few months. All right, so the next thing they talked about there and did a little video walkthrough of, which was really cool, was the Shades Eve event.
Very nice.
They did some footage, they showed Ilium, but they said that both Ilium and Thade will be decked out and decorated for the event.
Yes. Yeah. They really went all out decking everything out.
Oh,
I mean, it really looks like they really went all out.
I mean, they even went and changed the skybox. There's fog going through the city. There's all kinds of decorations everywhere. It looks really good.
The statues in Thade have eyes.
And that's the thing. It's like you go into your city and you're like, it just clearly is not the city that you're normally walking into. It's just like the whole thing's redone. You're just like, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
And this content we said before, but just to reiterate, it's realm-wide temporary content. Don't know exactly how long. Assume in October, obviously, for Halloween. The cool thing that they said about this, though, is that you're actually going to be progressing the content of the event as a server. So.
Yeah, which is really neat, because it's going to be everybody kind of kicking in to move this content forward.
That's really
which is
good
neat.
Community stuff to kind of bring everyone together to a common goal. So
I love that the idea in this progress is the fact that you're building effigies to Jack Shade.
See, I didn't read a whole lot about the Jack Shade. You guys seem to know a bit about the lore behind it.
I was reading on it because I'm like, oh, this is what I want to talk about. This was what I was going to use for the open mic slot. But I'm like, a little early. So
why don't you tell us a little bit about Jack Shade then? Give us a little background on that.
A little bit on Jack Shade. Basically, it's become this galactic holiday celebrated by all the different races across the galaxy, because even though it's rooted in the ancient Cassian culture, because they've pushed out across the galaxy and kind of spread themselves out, that those traditions have got assimilated into other races and planets and so forth. So it's really become blanketed across but it's mutated a little bit to each one's different view, but the overall theme is generally the same. And basically what the legend has it with it all is that the original human settlers on the planet Cassis became infected with this dangerous plague, basically soon after, they got to the planet. And although the cause of the disease was lost, most of the scholars assumed that it was just a very, bad strain of a spacer's plague. But when night fell, the settlers started, making makeshift camps and raging bonfires, lit everything up, and basically they threw the bodies into the fire. That's what the fires was all stoked by. It was just fires of bodies, basically all over the place.
Sorry, it's pretty dark when you read the fine print.
So basically, if you looked out over the landscape, you saw all these bonfires, and those bonfires were stoked with bodies. Wow. And the people that were alive were just basically praying that their respirators that they're wearing would save them from this horrific death. And
I like the cemetery now. This is great.
So
thunder in the background.
I do. So just as all hope was lost, they basically discovered a young girl that had a natural immunity to the disease.
Was her name Jack Shade?
No, her name was not. But her blood was used to create a vaccine, which was distributed. And then as dawn broke, the bonfires burned down to the ash and embers. The remaining settlers emerged and took off the respirators and celebrated their day of salvation, even though they're mourning the loss of their dead and everything else. So that's kind of the story behind it.
Wow.
But
thank you for that.
Each year they celebrate it, which those days became known as the Shades. And that's where the Jack Shade part comes from. Those were known as the Shades those days.
Very nice.
So then it's just kind of
there's your little
changed.
lore corner for the day, folks.
Yeah, it's just kind of mutated throughout the days.
With a little bit of atmosphere.
Yeah, the way that they came up with the name was a small group of scholars, believed that Jack Shade was the name of the first plague victim. So the fires in the time was known as the Shades, but the scholars believed that the first victim of it all was Jack Shade.
So, and one last thing about the event is that there will be a big boss baddie available for us to kill with lots of shinies.
Yes, and they're going to have a whole set of quest lines and activities and stuff to do that are going to keep you, in your capital cities, and some are going to make you travel far away. There's going to be all kinds of activities that you would, kind of expect to come with such a thing. They've really got it decked out.
They have some of the loot, maybe rockets and maybe boots, preferably together.
They did not say what the actual loot is. I would assume something Halloween themed, though.
It'd be cool if, I don't think they're going to this Halloween, but if they made it so you can get a mount from, each of these events, or each of these holidays. Because it was pretty nice having, look what I got, but you can't get it till next year.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, even if, we were talking about before, even if they did, a trophy or something.
Yeah, something to show off.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to have for housing. I wouldn't put it past them if they at least had a housing trophy.
A
something.
Housing thing, or a vanity pet,
title,
or
anything.
Title, maybe, or a mount.
I'm sure they'll have something. Costume pieces. I guarantee there'll be costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I mean, once we get more information, like Cabal said earlier, I'm sure we'll talk about this again once they
I feel like there's not going to be
tell
much
us more.
candy.
It is a variation. It's a Nexus version of Halloween. So the next part of the video that they showed off was the Protostar dungeons, more specifically the level 50 version. This one is called the Ultimate Proto Games. What they did say though, and something I'd like to correct that we talked about before, is that we said before that this was intended for level 10 players, but they were just using a level 50 version on PTR. What is actually happening is it's a level 50 new dungeon, and they're going to eventually make a level 10 version called Protostar Academy to help people learn things like telegraphs and dodging and interrupts and things like that. So what the Ultimate Proto Games one is, it's themed after a Protostar game show, kind of similar to one of the adventures that we did while leveling. So what this is there's 9 dynamically generated event rooms total. So there's 9 possible scenarios that can happen, along with one final boss room. And when you enter into this instance, it will randomly generate 6 rooms in a random order. So of 9, you're going to get 6 randomly in a random order.
Leading to the replayability.
Exactly. Dynamically generated content. So that'll be nice. There won't be an optimal route. You people in adventures, I'm looking at you. So different every time. That'll be great. And because it is a game show, you're going to earn points. So the better you perform, the more points you earn. The more points you earn, the more gear you will have an opportunity to get. This content is made for 5 players as well. So you'll be in here with other people.
Can you say bronze, silver, gold?
They did not say anything about medals. They did say points.
But points, semantics.
Who knows? Maybe they're moving away from that.
We'll see what
happens. It
happens.
kind of didn't work very well before.
No.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, all they said was about the points. So that's pretty much all we got there. This stuff is on the PTR now. The level 50 version is there now for you to test if you want to go on the PTR and play with it yourself. All right, and something here that Nuttzs should be excited about. They're putting in a new arena.
Yeah, it looked pretty awesome.
Yeah, this one's actually really good. This one is ice themed and it has multiple levels.
Pretty neat how they had it where, you could just drop down through a hole and end up on another level. And I could imagine, I mean, not that I PvP, but I could just imagine, trying to track somebody down, or you got somebody next thing, bam, they're just tanking down right through another level. I think that'll be neat, new dynamic, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. And like he was saying, there's on both ends of this, it looks kind of almost like a bridge across like a ice pond, and on both ends of it there's a hole in both sides, so you can just jump through and go underneath and fight that way. And the other thing about this is that I think they said it's almost twice as big as the other arena.
Yeah, definitely. It looks twice as big.
So yeah, it's fairly large, has a lot more depth to the gameplay on it. So I'm even looking forward to that, and I don't PvP very much either, but I think that'll be really interesting to play on. Just a couple little tidbits here that were gleaned from the videos, not really relating much to content. In an interview, Megan Starks, who is a senior game designer, was asked if creating an expansion would take away from current content or fixes that are being implemented. And she set the record straight, like we've said several times before, that they are entirely different teams, and it would not take away from live team development.
Nope. They've got different departments doing different things, and they're all working on their own parts.
Another thing where last time we talked about those new maps that had been data mined, and we talked about one of the maps that looked like Farside.
We were on it.
We're on the ball with that. She actually dropped a hint about a new zone that she is developing currently, saying that if you like Farside, you will probably like this zone a lot.
I don't know any people that don't like Farside.
Me.
What?
I don't like Farside. I actually just went through it on my medic last week too, and I'm like, God, I can't wait to get out of this freaking zone. I hate it so much. And what's funny is I hate the surface the most. Like the other stuff I'm fine with. The low grav thing all the time just bugs me.
I
didn't like the biodomes.
Yeah, I found more problem with the biodomes. I was like all bothered by those. I'm like, I'm on a moon and you're sticking me in a biodome that just looks like the planet face. I'm like, I was like, I didn't like that. I like to be on the top side.
See, now I'm in my favorite zone though. I'm in Wilder Run and I love it.
How do you hate How do you like that plate?
It's pretty.
I keep getting eaten by plants.
They got plants that eat
Even
you.
now,
See,
I'll
just get
go
the
and I'll
top
help
that
somebody with
add-on,
a world boss
and
or
it's fine.
something. Well, that's what I have, but it's so annoying because it knocks you off your mount. You're like,
Don't
really,
stand in the
really,
plants.
plant? They're on the road.
I don't
so
have
you're not
this
safe
problem.
anywhere.
I just jump over them. Don't be a noob, you noob.
There's a lot of cook quests there. There's a lot of cook quests there.
But one of the things also that they had on the show floor were computers that set up with the new daily zones called Starcom Basin. So we are looking at new daily zones as well.
And this
they're
was the
gonna,
one we were talking about that looked like Levian Bay last time.
Yep, exactly. And so that's out there now too.
And this is another one that has that interesting dynamic of factions fighting for control of the zone. But on top of this one, and again, remember this was that really small map that we were talking about last time. On top of this, whatever faction controls the zone, that will determine the zone events that happen in that zone.
See, one of the things I like I hope this map is relatively small like we think it is, because if it's going to be a daily zone where you're going and doing dailies, I hate it when dailies are spread out over a large zone. If I'm going to have to go in and grind dailies and do these,
Finally
at least
got a
put them in
taste of that now.
just put them in an efficient, area for me just to do it and
That's
do
what
it
I always do.
efficiently and
Yeah.
move it aside. And
exactly
so
what I do
I
to
hope
my
this
table.
is what they're going for. I hope when they come with a daily.
Yeah, this map is definitely a lot smaller than
Crimson
Northern
Badlands.
Wastes and Crimson
Kinda suck.
Badlands.
Yeah.
Crimson
Badlands.
Badlands. It's like
Yeah, it's the worst culprit because it's so spread out and just everywhere.
Yeah.
Northern
Yes.
Waste isn't quite so
I
bad.
don't know about you guys.
You can get through Northern Waste pretty quick.
Yeah. So
I
this
don't know about
should
you
be better.
guys, but in like Crimson Badlands, I have quests to make me go backwards, but I don't get them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, how you have like 3 camps or whatever,
Yeah.
and the 3rd camp makes me go like backwards. I like Northern Waste is pretty. I think that Northern
It's like a
Waste.
circle.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, you're
Pretty
going
much.
in one fluid direction and you just go from here to
Well,
here.
I mean, that might
to
just
here.
be because the Crimson Badlands is the Chua place, and how they could be.
That
Hey,
could be it,
hey.
because those Chua. Mm-hmm.
I'll blow you up. Watch it.
No, we Exiles, we're pretty efficient.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Exile scum.
yep. I went jazzy on that one. Time to take up with the Chua.
All right. So then the other thing that we always get, new dailies, the new rep vendor in the video, they showed off some mount flares, housing decor, and some new gear. And there's also epic gear in there, so can expect those best in slot lists we see going around to get updated with that. And this content doesn't currently have a time frame for when it'll be live, but it is in development and they're working on it. Another thing for people that were able to attend Gamescom, and I'm super jealous of these people, Wildstar was giving away some in-game items on a card. If you went to their booth,
Nice.
yeah, you were able to get a top hat and a monocle, the Showstopper title, Gamescom blue purple die, which is one die, one color, it's just a blue purple, and fancy table, which is a housing decor item.
If I knew there was going to be fancy hats involved, I would have went.
Well, it's in Germany, so.
I know exactly.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Worth
I didn't know there was.
worth the $1,000 plane ticket.
No one told me there was a top hat and a monocle. Okay?
Well, the other disappointing thing, at least for us, as all 3 of us are North American players, is that the codes were actually locked to the EU.
But they would fix that.
They are region locked, but yes, there were some people who, are, from North America or whatever, and they did go to Gamescom and wanted to be able to use this. So Cougar actually took to Twitter and said that if there are North American players that have a code in hand and they submit a ticket, they will convert it for you.
Which I think this is great, because it's a really good move, because the reality is you do have folks over there in the military stationed over there that, play over there, but they may be on the North American side because they're going to be coming back, and it's where, probably most of their friends are. I think it's a great move that they're willing to open that up, because
the thing was, a lot of people, and this kind of irritated me, and it's part of the reason, like, going back to beta. When we were playing in beta, we were told that things like that pink hoverboard, the Highwayman set, certain titles were all things that you would get for playing in closed beta to show some kind of prestige. And then they ended up going back on that, saying that they wanted people to, you know, everyone to have the chance to get everything that's available, you know. And so that kind of lost a little bit. But people were freaking out about not being able to get this stuff in North America. They were like, that's not fair, and da-da-da. Oh my gosh, you should have seen the forums and Reddit. Stupid. And people were freaking out. Like, seriously. They're like, anything that you get in game should be earned in game. And I was like, are you guys serious right now? Like, it was ridiculous.
But you know what? Those are the people that if they were there and they were getting the swag, they wouldn't be complaining.
Exactly. But then
it's not like, if it was something that was game changing, I might understand. The only thing I could think about is the Equivar mount. You can only get those from boomboxes right now.
Yeah.
But you can get those boomboxes from the PTR.
Yeah, and you can sell them out. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like it's not like the Highwayman outfit is like amazing or anything, you know? Like, everyone has it. You could have gotten it easy. Just play it on the stupid open beta, which is open to anybody.
The system I like more that they have in place is their loyalty systems. You know, that you've been around X long, so you get X. I think that's cool.
Every month, how they're like giving us a hat, basically.
Yeah, they're
really
rewarding people that are paying and staying versus, you know, those
Speaking
that are
of,
just
I love that beret.
Jumping out.
Really?
The beret on my Chua looks amazing. I love it. But going back to the code, one more quick thing. They did say that North American players will have a chance to win the codes from the Gamescom items. And actually, this week on Wildstar Weekly, they're going to be giving out some codes. Don't know how. Probably some kind of contest, whatever.
Must have top hat.
But you'll have a chance to get them. So you're just not going to be giving them just the same. And honestly, I don't care. Like, if people go to a con and they spent the money to go to the con and whatever, I mean, Riot does it too. You can get exclusive skins for League just from cons. I mean, who cares? It's like you were saying, it doesn't hurt anything. And they used to do it for like BlizzCon. Like, people used to get like mounts and like pets and stuff.
I think they should give out in-game things for attending.
Yeah.
I am totally in agreement with if people were to get a special pet or something or whatever. But if they want to make it so that it's bind on equip and people can go in and sell it for a boatload of platinum, you know, fine, whatever. I think that's cool, because then it opens the opportunity that, well, if you really want it, there are people putting it up on the economy and have at it. There's your opportunity. But I think that they should go ahead. I mean, I've never gotten to go to one. I mean, would I like to in the future? Sure. But there's nothing saying I will. But I think
it's nice to have something to show off, you know, to say like, I did this.
I went there. I was there.
It's something special. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So I don't see anything wrong with that. And I never, like, it irritated me to see all those people, that's not fair. I want to be like, life isn't fair.
I know, right? I have no idea where you come across the idea life is fair.
It's
like,
a
what do
game.
you mean it's not fair? You could have went to Germany
and
got your code.
If it's so unfair, get on a plane, go.
Yeah.
Make it happen. But yeah, I don't get that. So it's whatever. But North American players will have a chance to get them. You just have to go enter a contest. And I'm sure people will complain about that too. But whatever. That's all you get. Okay, so the last thing we want to talk about, this is actually a combination of a couple things. They mentioned this at Gamescom, but actually earlier today, this was... they went into a little more detail about it. Carbine has decided to move away from the aggressive content schedule that they were doing, meaning a content drop every single month on the dot. What they've decided to do, and from what it sounded like with the interview that they're going to do from now on, is they're actually going to hold back this patch, meaning the Defile patch. They said possibly for another couple months, and include a major overhaul of bug fixes and quality of life updates. So they said they've been taking feedback for the last month or so from a lot of people that people want them to fix things rather than put out content. So that's what they're going to do.
I think they should. I mean, because to get these fixes, I mean, let's face it, there's the murmurs and the talks that, there's, population issues, and, some people are coming in and they're trying the game and then they're leaving because they're complaining, it's like a beta, there's all these, issues. And some people, I'll agree, they have come in and they've given it a fair shot and they're like, no, I'm out. Well, these people don't want to totally want to wait around for the fixes. They're not playing the beta. So I can understand that they're potentially losing subs because people are coming in and giving it a fair, honest shot. But these fixes aren't coming around quick enough for their satisfaction, and they leave.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's fair, maybe it's not, life ain't fair or whatever. But I think the trend will be we've kind of hit a lull, which you always hit because you always have that massive influx in the beginning. But I think as some of these shoot out, you will see people migrate back to the game because just like a lot of other MMOs, new content comes out, big patches come out, people migrate back to the game to check it out and see if those fixes work for them. And so I think it's good that they kind of focus on overhauling some of those issues that they're having.
I definitely think they need to do this. As much as I like to see new content, and as much as, like I said earlier, I'm definitely looking forward to this patch, I want the game to have a long lifespan. So I think that in order for that to happen, they kind of have stumbled a little bit with some things. I've said before, I freely admit that the PvP was kind of borked. That completely needs to be fixed. That's a big thing. But as a mostly PvE player, it has not largely affected me.
No, not at all.
So, I'm personally still playing. Obviously, all three of us are still playing. But the biggest thing that I deal with personally is population issues. It's part of why we ended up merging our guild into another one, is because it's just hard to recruit people. And that in of itself can be a problem. When people can't get enough players, then they can't do the content they want to do, then they're going to get bored, then they're going to leave.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not only, bug fixes. It's kind of like a whole snowball effect, or domino effect, rather. Things get broken, people leave, you can't recruit people, you can't raid, you can't play, you get bored, you leave. That's the kind of like whole content right there. That's everything.
If you can't do it, then
Exactly. And I love this game to death. And I'm here for the long haul. I'm doing other things. I'm leveling other characters, playing the medic, doing whatever. So it's not that big a deal to me. And I'm not a PvPer. But I was explaining this to someone the other day that if that's all they do in MMOs is PvP, then I completely understand if they've left, honestly. I love this game, and like I said, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm pretty sure all of us are, but I get it. And so I think that taking a step back, from the aggressive content cycle and taking the time to address these issues will be better for the overall of the game.
I would rather see the slower release of content so that it's not coming at, so it's not coming out at too high of a cost. Because if you're losing your players, that's too high of a cost. It's not worth it.
Well, and the other thing that they have to really consider is that, like it or not, WoW just announced the release date for Wildstar of Draenor. That's coming in November. So they've basically got 3 months, and then they're going to be competing with WoW. So in order to compete with WoW, you really have to be on your A game. And I feel like Wildstar can. It just needs to kind of pick up a few things, Here's
the dangerous thing. I'm not totally up to speed on what they're bringing out with the Warlords of Draenor. I've seen some of it. They're one of the ones that are taking ideas and implementing them a little bit, from Wildstar. They're taking some of Wildstar's ideas and implementing them into the game because they see it's drawing people. They see it's going to work. But if their staff is up to speed and really brings it out cleanly, that's going to be a plus for them. But on the other hand, people may leave Wildstar to go check out Warlords of Draenor.
It'll probably happen anyway. But
it's going to happen, but they may all of a sudden get into it and they're like,
this is
oh my
the same
God,
old thing.
I'm standing here clicking.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like,
you want them to have a reason to think, oh, maybe I should go back, like to regret leaving Wildstar,
Yeah.
I don't think I can go back to WoW.
I don't
think you can either. I think you'd just be like, oh my God, I'm just
like, I even got a beta invite to Arcade, and I've been playing that for a few weekends, and it kind of has like a combo system, but it's nowhere near like the action combat Wildstar has. Wildstar has ruined me for any other MMO.
like even in Wildstar, I find myself jumping around, and sometimes I'll actually pull stuff just like in dungeons just because I'm jumping around.
Yeah.
So I always got to keep moving.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that if they take the time now and get it right, get it fixed, then they will be you know, like on level with that when it comes time for that, you know?
And the people that do go back over will be like, yeah, I just can't do this. This is too boring.
And the other thing that I was talking in the same conversation, I was talking to someone about this the other day, I feel like they're running into a lot of these problems now because they kept their beta so small. Like, I remember we talked about they only saw, what, like 5% of the people who signed up for beta actually played. And then keep in mind that the way that they gave out their beta invites, they were giving out 2 friend keys along with that. So the people that got friend keys weren't necessarily giving a crap about the game and probably weren't reporting bugs or anything like that. They were playing a, quote, demo, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that they just didn't really get the opportunity to simulate a live environment of what it would be like. And I think that's part of the problem they're running into now, I feel like.
But the uptake is they're analyzing this data all the time, so they still got time to get it all straightened out, and I'm sure they're all over it.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that they'll get there. I think they'll get it right. And we've even talked about before, they're never going to have millions upon millions of subs. It just won't happen. But they can be a good, healthy game if they take the time now in the beginning to get it right and fix it and pick themselves up.
I think it's possible that they could have millions of subs. I think there's so many platforms in the game, there's so many layers in the game, there can be something for everybody. I think it just needs to work through its cycle. That's your raid content. That's what you worked into, and you're going to get gear, and you're going to get, graphically set gears that don't look like stuff anybody else can get, and you're going to be able to show it off, and you're going to see your average, casual player in Adventures and Dungeons, and that's going to be as far as they get. I think there's still the possibility that they can fit. There's so many layers that they can fit enough for a lot of people and get millions of subs.
All right, now we come to our open mic where we speak about what is on our mind. Why don't you go ahead and get us started, Cabal?
All right. One of the things that came to my attention, and I can't really, I haven't verified this through official documents, but reading through the forums, and the quarterly reports come out for NCSoft, the second quarter. And, basically when these quarterly reports come out, they have to do all these breakdowns of how much money they made and where it all came from and everything else. So in this, they're showing that by the second quarter reporting that Wildstar had brought in $27 million into NCSoft, which that's not chump change. Those are nice numbers. So now some people went out, did some fancy math, and basically said, if you take an average, we'll say that what the average is $60, because some boxes were a little less, some were a little bit more. So if we average it at $60, you're talking 450,000 sales. That's a give or take number. Yeah. But that would be ballpark. That's not crazy math. And, my thought is if these numbers are remotely accurate, for a brand new IP coming out, I mean, these ain't, IPs like, SWTOR coming out that has a giant following already, or Lord of the Rings, or something that's already established. We're talking a brand new IP coming out from nowhere and building their own thing. Those are some pretty sweet numbers.
I feel like that can't be right, though, just because of what we've heard Gaffney say before. I feel like that's really low. Like, I don't know. Something about that seems a little off to me. Because Gaffney has said something about having 4 times the players that they had in beta.
I think last episode I had mentioned that he had referenced, I believe, 5 times more.
Yeah, something to that effect. So that would put it closer to like 1 million.
But I don't think we ever got any solid numbers from them. We've never really gotten where they've laid out and
they released
said,
at one
what
point how many people were playing in beta.
Right. There was like a speculation of we're taking the average. It's,
it was
we're
like 1.4 million.
Yeah, we're calculating out this and putting in, so it should be a safe number.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. Even at 450, 500,000, that's not bad. Like you said, for a brand new IP.
But you could throw that number off and say the majority of the people, bought, the standard box, which was cheaper. It could dramatically raise these numbers by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subs.
And the other thing, too, is that was pre-orders. This wasn't, you know, anything that's happened since launch.
Right.
You know, this doesn't include box sales from now because they're, you know, 3 months behind, basically.
Right. But I just thought it was an interesting little tidbit where, you know, just kind of getting a pulse on things and saying, you know what, for a brand new IP, those aren't shabby. Even if it's off, those aren't bad numbers. That's saying that they're clearly bringing in enough money.
Definitely.
To keep developing, to keep staff, to keep chugging forward, to keep doing.
And I even read something that, beyond that, an article that NCSoft was actually very happy with the revenue that Wildstar is bringing in.
If those numbers are more, I would be pretty happy too.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing that is, I was kind of reading through the forums, and this one I kind of read it, and I was like, I wonder, do I agree with this or do I not agree with this? And so I was reading through the forums, and I saw this post by Tritus, and I'll quote what he posted because I thought it was relatively well thought out, and it wasn't just a belligerent post, and I thought it was put together well, and it made me think. And basically what he says is, attunements are a particular ball of stupid, since they're bad even for the hardcore. Need to bring a replacement raider in? Go attune them. Someone needs to use an ult so you have enough healers? Attune them. You can't get stuff done because you have to keep going back and doing attunements 50 times. Burning Crusades took this to an absurdist levels, and there's even a reason why it was thrown out the window completely. It was good for nobody, including the hardcore people who whine on forums about it. None of them are raid leaders, obviously. Now, I kind of say, I go, you know, I understand the attunement process, that they want to put this barrier to entry and so forth. And, you know, you have to be able to say that I can play well enough and I've got enough people organized to accomplish X. So on one hand, I'm like, I understand the attunement. But on the other hand, I thought he made some very good points where you kind of do run into this. We have to get everybody attuned. We're facing part of that in our guild now. We're building the 5-man fire teams to get people attuned. But again, when you need to sub somebody in, they have to go through this massive process. And even if they do tone it down, it's still a process. And I was just kind of curious what your guys' thoughts were on this.
I disagree with him entirely, actually.
Yes.
I think attunements are a very good thing to have, even for alts, even for new people. If you're being, you know, a guild leader myself, I understand what they're saying from that angle, but it shows not only, like you said, that person can play that class, even if it's an alt. You know, that person needs to know how to play the class. So they need to put in the work that an attunement shows. I know what I'm doing, especially in Wildstar, because you have to go through adventures, you have to go through dungeons, you have to do world boss fights, you have to do all this stuff along the way, playing your class well. And I think that it's a good thing to have. Now, could they scale it back a little bit? Yes, and they are. So that'll make it easier, but I think that it needs to be there. And the fact of the matter is, by this point, most people could easily get to the dungeon part, at least on their own. And if it's such a pain in the ass for your guild to want to go back and do stuff that they can already, you know, roll through or have done so they know how to do it, that's probably not a good group of people. They're probably not going to help you with anything. All they care about is themselves. So, I mean, I don't really care. If I'm doing it anyway, it's not like, even if you're in a raiding guild, if you're raiding, you're not sitting there, you know, doing stuff 24/7 every time you're on the game. You can go back and help your guildies do a dungeon, you know?
Yeah, where I see it is, it's like, this is where they're placing the line in the sand in the game to say, here's where we're going to separate hardcore versus the rest of the players.
Casual, yeah.
And not that there's a difference on either side, but this is your barrier to say, okay, if you're willing to, that people see you around, or if you're showing gear off, or you're saying we're doing X, people are going, oh, you did do that. You guys got it together. So I can get that, and I think that's pretty neat. But when I read it, I was like, that's kind of interesting. I thought he wrote it well, and it made you think. There's a plus.
But it's like we were talking about before, where people still have the mentality of, you know, what I call the WoW player, that they expect everything to just be instant and handed to them and available. And people are not used to being told no. in an MMO. They're just not used to it. And that's the answer. I mean, this whole post says that to me. This says to me that guy either had this happen to him or he can't get past this part of the attunement. He doesn't like it, that he's being told no.
Right.
Or that,
well, there's lots of unhappiness with
his
that.
time is so precious that he can't go back and help a guildie do the dungeons. It reeks of not only like a selfish attitude, but kind of an elitist one to me personally.
How about you, Nuttzs?
As usual, I'm kind of like in between you guys. I don't know if you agree with what he's saying, but I'm kind of like, in a way, halfway. I think there should be an attunement. The only thing I don't like about this attunement really is the world bosses, because I feel like they don't teach you very much. I feel like if the world bosses, instead of going and killing them at 50, you just need the achievement. So every world boss would give you an achievement, and if
Which
you
I
had
think
all
they
the
said
achievements,
they're working on changing something about that
they're
too.
changing. Yeah, they're changing the dungeons to bronze instead of silver for the requirement for attunement, and I think they said they're going to do something with world bosses. I like that. That's a good idea. But I think there needs to be an attunement, especially in this game, because level cap and skill required, especially for dungeon or raids, which I'm going to get to because I've just been there. Pretty crazy. And the whole attunement kind of leads you. It's supposed to prepare you for raids.
Yeah.
Right.
Like first adventures that are the easiest.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
Then dungeons. The world bosses, I mean, you're facing level 10 world bosses. They're not hard. You can just stand in all the red stuff. That's why I don't like it too much. The whole point of it is to prepare you for it. And I've watched videos. One guy I actually recommended to you once, Jazzy, I forgot his name. It was like the Harbinger of Games or something like that. Kind of, he was all right. He was okay. He could be a bit stubborn. But anyway, one of his videos, he said something like, the grind's okay as long as it's not too tedious. And you get a good reward for doing it. Like people would grind for a mount in WoW, and then people would be jealous because this guy grinded forever for this awesome mount that he can only get by grinding for a month. And then they made it easy, where you can just go find it in a day and you can have it. And it's not special anymore. You get it from the It's not special to you. You spent a month or two grinding for this awesome thing, and people could just get it instantly.
Yeah.
Where if people who are tuned now, they got it legitimately, worked hard, up every day, working with their guild, and getting to raids just to find out that next month the attunement's going to be gone, and all that work was for nothing. And like Jazzy was saying, you need to be skilled to get through it, because I know silver, we're having troubles getting people attuned right now because some people just don't have the skill to get through it.
And if you can't handle that stuff, you're not going to do raiding at all.
So you need to be able to do dungeons, which is, I mean, they're hard.
Consistently.
But raids are harder.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too. Like, people don't seem to understand that. It's the gimme attitude. And then, you know, even if they just, let's say they remove the entire attunement today and everyone could raid, the next thing people would complain about is that they can't kill the first boss.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's, you know, people think that this is hard. Wait till you get to the raids, you know? It's like 100 times worse.
Yeah, I think it's good that they have a line in the sand, and I do, you know, agree that there needs to be some form of line that says you need to get by X to get to Z.
And you can't be carried in this game.
No.
Like, we have really good players, but we can have like one DPS that will keep dying or not getting the fight, or he just won't interrupt when he's supposed to, you know? Because that's what this game is about, interrupting, really, and dodging stuff. But if you can't do that, then you can't raid, you know?
Yeah,
and you can't be carried. You cannot be carried.
You can't play this MMO as a single player game like you can a lot of other MMOs. You have to work together with other people. And people don't seem to understand that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, raiding is kind of a bitch. But it's fun. It's fun, though.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was we just did another guild event, which was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah,
I believe it or not. Okay, so what we did was we had our guild meeting, our weekly guild meeting. We got everybody together afterward, as we usually do. And this time we did a naked run through Thade.
Yep.
Oh my Lord. I was a little hesitant to begin with, thinking, how much fun is this really going to be? Oh my Lord, was that fun. I mean, we had, probably 15 of us all butt naked standing outside the doors of Thade and seeing who could run the furthest through. And the best part was, I mean, you just see people just falling off as they, you know, one of the guard zap them or something, and they just fall over, and you're just watching them flop as you're like, I'm
so
still
great.
going. It was so much fun. And then you got some of these Exile players that are just standing there watching everybody just barrage through, and they never did nothing.
Yeah, they never attacked us.
They had to be sitting there going, what in the world? Obviously, we're all
Maybe we
naked,
shocked them.
But they were just like, what are they doing? What they had to be thinking about just had to be awesome.
For the Dominion that are so civilized, you guys can be pretty vulgar.
I know, right? But at the end of the day, Jazzy was the winner.
Yeah.
And she
I let
won.
everyone else die.
I almost had you, except for I made a wrong turn at the end.
You made a wrong turn. It was the end of him.
Yes, I was. So I fell in second, but we did it twice. Big rewards went out to people. So, winners get big in-game rewards, which is one of the neat things of our guild events. I mean, we do offer, in-game rewards, which is pretty cool to spread the wealth, with our large guild bank and everything. Spread it around to the players. So it's like you win one of these things and you just feel like, hey, you just won the stinking lotto.
We really are having a lot of fun with our new guild. They really are really cool people. And it was probably one of the better moves. I was... again, I'm always a little hesitant, as we talk about merging, and I'm seeing that rationally that, yes, this is a good move to move forward in the game. And it was such a simple, easy process. I mean, having their GMs come out and talk to everybody, and, so, if you do have a guild out there and you're kind of lingering on numbers, learning, merging in with a larger guild is not a bad idea in this game. It really does get things done. The other thing we're doing is, I'm leading up some fire teams, 5-man fire teams to tackle all the attunement content and structured groups. It's coming along really nicely, to be honest. I mean, we're really bringing people in. It's really going well. I mean, to me, Pago, the Art of Warfare, place to be, If you're Dominion on our server, looking for a new server, we welcome everybody and anybody. If you want to just play and socialize, great. You want to get in on the rating, great. They really have a structure for everybody. They do PvP as well.
Yeah,
Rated PvP.
They sure do. And so, that's what I had a ball with this week. I thought the guild event was a blast.
And what I wanted to add along with the Art of Warfare, if you wanted to check us out, you can go to ta.net. We were talking about the attunements. We are one of those nice guilds. No matter where you are in the attunement process, we will go back and help you.
Yeah, we start our fire teams with whoever is the lowest, furthest along. That's where everybody starts, and we just start banging it out.
Everybody's really cool and really helpful.
Everybody works with them. It's really good. How about you, Nuttzs?
I didn't have much this time.
Really?
We actually did merge with the guild as well.
Nice.
We merged. We both. Well,
was it us? Because we have an Exile guild also. Was it us?
Really? Probably not.
We got both sides going.
He's on another server though.
I know.
So we wanted to get rating as soon as possible, and we did these things. We thought about the possibility of merging with another guild because we weren't recruiting as much as we were, and we opened up circles with other guilds, and we did test runs. So like we'd had Dungeon Nights, this is before we were all attuned, with all these different guilds, and we'd have circles with them. It was kind of like a little alliance where we talk in the channel and be like, hey, anyone want to go do dungeons? And then we do that. And unfortunately, none of the guilds came through. They weren't our style or whatever. And we met this guild called Karma, and they were very promising. They actually were all attuned. They came from the best guild on the server, actually, and they split off and they made their own guild. And we did a test raid run with them after we were all attuned, considering we both didn't have enough people, but together we had enough. We went and raided, and we almost killed X89 our first time. First night.
Nice.
So awesome. Then we went 2 days later, we took them down.
Nice.
And after that, we came to an agreement that they would merge with us. So Karma is now with us, and we are working on Kurlak right now, which is the second boss in Genetic Archive. He's a butthole. We're going to kill him. I might say that, these guys are buttholes or bastards or whatever, but the fights are all fun. I wouldn't say some of them are DPS checks, but most of it is just not dying, really. Like X89, obviously you only have a certain amount of platforms before you're knocked out. But if you just have everybody alive, and that's why it's so important with the attunement that you learn these dungeons, because the raids are a lot harder and you can't really die in the middle of a fight, or else, you know, the whole raid kind of suffers through it, you know? So that's kind of my advice. Like, practice a lot, get a good guild, and learn your class. And we actually have a website. You can check us out. We'll just put it in the description if that's cool with Jazzy.
Check it out.
Absolutely not. Exile scum.
Whatever.
Why you gotta be like that?
Smack you.
They need love too.
No. Dirty, filthy Exile scum.
Damn Chuas, they want to just kill everything.
Blow it up.
What's your guild website?
It's a long, super long.
Yeah. We'll put it in the description. We'll do it once, you know.
Oh.
Then burn the episode.
Yeah. And another thing I have, if you're 50 and you want to get into raiding and you want to get more DPS, ruin your stuff. Because ruining is... I recommend looking at your general sets and looking at that, because those are pretty much your bread and butter when it comes to ruins. You know, we're doing great. We're progressing a lot faster than I thought we were going to.
That's awesome.
That's pretty good. How about you, Jazzy? How's it going?
Not a whole lot out of me this week either. Just a couple little tidbits. Still working on the medic. Just got him to 40. I know I said I'd be 50 by this time, but unfortunately my computer decided to be a prick last week, and I had to format it twice. And then my CD drive went out while I was formatting it, so that was great. And yeah, I did though make a decision. The medic is officially my new main. I actually called Jazzy my ult for the first time yesterday. It kind of made me sad.
Switching over to the master class.
It is a lot of fun, but I mean, I'm still Jazzy. Everyone knows me as Jazzy. Obviously, my medic has a different name. His name is Xantigen. Probably gonna have our good friend Salty Okra make me some artwork, or modify the artwork that I have now on like my Twitter and the YouTube and stuff, and just put my medic on the other side and have them back to back and really cool Chuas. Because of course my medic is a Chua. I mean, come on.
I was pulling Agar off the tank in my raid the other day as my medic.
Oh yeah.
It's like a beautiful curse.
They're kicking ass in raiding. I've seen them at the top of those charts a lot.
They're pretty good. They're right along engineers right now.
I'm looking forward to it raiding, definitely. And then just a couple other little like tidbits from Wildstar itself. For anybody that hasn't heard yet, the Wildstar live stream is going to be going from 2 shows a week to 1. They're just going to condense it a little bit to allow them to kind of have, you know, give more time to the devs to do their jobs, you know, to not take time away from them. So they're just going to condense all of the content from both of them into one, and that's going to be Tuesdays at 11 PDT. So you guys can look forward to that. And then one other thing, Wildstar is a little bit notorious for having issues with AMD graphics cards. There was an update with driver support released for Wildstar about 3 or 4 days ago. So if you have an AMD video card and you haven't updated your drivers recently, I definitely recommend doing that. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us again today. Thank you for tuning in and listening. We actually have some really exciting news. We are now on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. So we will be leaving links to those places in the description to the video, always. So if you want to take us on the go, you can take us on the go. As always, I am Jazzy. You can follow me on Twitter at Jazzy_Chua. You can subscribe to Nuttzs on his YouTube channel for reviews, playthroughs, and commentaries on a lot of different games at youtube.com/Cluffy142. And you can also follow Cabal on Twitter at Cabal_Makari. Remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed our show today, and please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the stuff we talked about today. And we will see you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.